Blessed be everyone. So I wanted to come and do this video, and you'll be seeing more videos like this going forward. And so basically videos focusing on self-sustainability. This one in particular is just going to be starting out simple. I'm growing and learning on how to become more sustainable, with the goal of doing that in the future. In the future, being fully self-sustainable. Right now, as I'm living in the city and living in my apartment, the most that one can do in this stage is to prepare. So this is not my first time doing this. I've done this before, and part of this is teaching myself just the nature of growing things, of growing food, and also being able to focus on growing herbs, and herbs that can be used obviously in more than one way. You have it as a food, and you can have it as a medicine. Okay, whether it be one that's taken orally or one that's taken topically, applied topically. So right, and there are many different ways to grow. There are many different ways to grow the herb. You can regrow herbs, which I've done in the past. Regrown things that you get from the grocery store, from the supermarket. People do it to save money so that you can maybe buy a bunch of scallions, and then, like, I've had my scallions that I bought from the grocery store, and then I regrew them, and they lasted over a year. So then you don't have to buy scallions again for the whole year if you regrow them. You can do that with certain herbs. You can do it with certain vegetables. People do it with carrots. They do it with pineapples. It varies. And another reason to do it is so it's a survival tool. If you don't have time, or you didn't think to collect seeds for the future, then you could go and scavenge at a grocery store and then regrow some of the fruits and vegetables from the seed, or just it might be from, like, in the case of a carrot, it would be from the carrot top. In the case of, like, spinach, you would pick a bundle of spinach that has roots. You would want a vegetable that has roots on it and regrow that. So that said, what I am doing today is I'm going to plant some seeds. But right now, what I've actually got here are things that I have already been started for me at the grocery store. And like I said, as I go along, there's going to be several videos like this. I have done tomatoes, I've done green peppers, so I'm going to share that stuff with you, like regrowing stuff, seeds that I'm collecting and stuff like that. Again, this is all towards self-sustainability for the future, the coming future. Okay, so, and I'll also get more into the importance of that and why that's important. If that is a question that's on your mind, you'll be seeing more content from me about that as well. Okay, so what I have is some parsley. Like I said, I bought two because they were on sale for $2 and like 50 cents, and they're both organic. There are two here, and they weren't in the best condition. I actually got them greener than they were, but they were choking. It was time for them to be replanted. At some point, you got to take them out of the starter pots and put them in the larger pots, because the roots will choke, which is what happened here while they were in the grocery store. So I took them out, and I'm gonna replant those. And then I also have some rosemary that I'll replant as well. And you'll go along with me on this journey to becoming self-sustainable. Basically trying to get my mindset in that of a prepper, and I will talk to you about that more in another video. But this is how I start, teaching myself. Okay, so obviously the parsley was already started, but usually you would use like this, a starter seed house. If you don't have this, you can improvise. You can use an egg carton. You can use any small container to start your seeds in. You don't have to get this fancy with it. But actually this was only $1 at the Dollar Tree, so I grabbed a couple of them. And I saved a couple for future use, and I'm using these. I'm going to use these today. Okay, so those are organic. I mean, if you're desperate, use what you have, but obviously you want to try to go with an organic seed. And if you're going with an organic seed, you want to stick with the theme throughout. It's not expensive to get organic soil. It's not expensive to get organic fertilizer. So I will show you. I just buy these things off of Amazon. This is the organic soil that I have. Okay, it wasn't expensive at all. And this is the organic fertilizer that I've been using for years. Make sure it still feels like it got pretty okay. Needs to be shaken up. But this is the organic fertilizer, and I use this fish and seaweed fertilizer. The plants love it. I don't think it has an expiration date. I just keep it in the fridge. No, it doesn't. I just keep it in the fridge once I open it. And yes, it smells like fish when you use it, but the smell goes away after a day or so. My cats are always intrigued, but the plants love it. If you don't have that, there are other ways you can naturally fertilize your plants. You can create compost. I don't have a backyard yet, but you best believe as soon as I get one, I will be composting, because you do need worms, so you know you have to do it in the backyard. You can use not often, but maybe once a month, you can give the plants Epsom salt, which is a cheaper option. It helps grow the plants, keep them healthy. I'm actually going to show you how to use this when you are repotting your plant, how you want to use that. Okay, so that's after you've already started the seed and you're ready to repot it and put it into a larger pot so that the roots have more space to grow. That's when you want to put in that Epsom salt underneath the root, because it helps kickstart the growth. Because to an extent, when you have to break up the roots when you repot, so you kind of are disturbing the roots. But it helps the plant to grow, and the more space, obviously, that the roots have to grow down or out, the more that the plant can grow upwards. Okay. And some people just buy the different kinds of soils and they mix it together. I just get it already mixed. So I just get a potting mix that's like pretty much already done for me. And this one says that it is for flowers and vegetables. So you can stack up on stuff like this. Another thing to learn is, if you have some land, how to make the soil fertile again, because a lot of what has been done with the soil uses enhancers. A lot of enhancers go into the soil. So when you it kills the soil. So when you try to grow food, it's not successful because it's like someone who's used to being souped up on, drugs all the time, and then they can't function at a normal level anymore because they've had the drugs in their system for so long. They need the drugs to feel normal. Same thing happens to the soil. So that's another thing that is a survival tool to know. But for now, we're going to be using this. Okay. I mean, if you got a garage, order a lot of that. Okay, so usually what you want is some rocks at the bottom. I've had rocks, but they're mixed in with old soil and stuff like that. So what I do, if you don't have the rocks, just don't pot it too heavy. Don't, pack it in too much, basically. Okay? Now, I am reusing containers that I've already used. If you're going to do that, make sure you wash them, because if you had a plant in here that had an issue, okay, the issue will be transferred over, or could be transferred over, to the new plant. So you want to make sure you wash all your containers thoroughly with, hot to warm water and soap, which is what I did. Okay? And it's a messy process. You might want to wear gloves, but I just used all my gloves staining up my kitchen cabinets, so I'm gonna use my hands. I don't have anywhere to go, so I'm okay. Okay, so we've lost some light. It's about 2 hours later. As I said, I was on the clock, so I had to go back and work. And also, it looks like it's about to rain. So I am going to. So we lost some light because it's getting cloudy, but you guys can still see okay. It just doesn't really. It's not really a project that requires loads of light. So I'm just going to use a scooper because I don't want to get dirt caught up in my nails. So I'm gonna fill it up, and you want to have enough underneath so that the roots have, some new soil to grow downwards towards. Ah. This could be a messy process. Let's put about 2 to 3 inches. So what you want to do, obviously you want to do this when the root ball is dry. You want to break up the bottom. It's going to disturb the plant. Yes, it is. But the roots will grow back, and it's going to help encourage the plant to grow downward. So right now, all the roots are kind of just wrapped along the sides. So, they, like I said, they were kind of choking in that pot. So I'm just rubbing the sides a little bit and breaking up the bottom a little bit. Not every leaf, don't expect every leaf to survive the transplant. That's not what happens. So, okay, so what you want to do is get your Epsom salt. Make a little impression in the soil where you're going to put your plant. Get your Epsom salt and put it right over the soil, on the soil before you bury the root ball. And like I said earlier, the Epsom salt helps kickstart the growth. So I just sprinkle a little bit of that right on top, like that. Okay. Okay. Okay, here we go. So I kind of broke it up until it looks a bit like this, and it's hanging down and rubbed along the sides a little bit. Not too much, just a little. Wake them up. And I think I need a little bit more of this Epsom salt in here. Just a little bit more. Now I'm going to place the pot on top, and then I'll fill it in the rest of the way. And I'll show you how, when you're going to harvest your parsley, how you do it. Each plant, herb, vegetable, it gets harvested, and it has its own unique way of being harvested. Hopefully this plant will start to stand up straight, because it's flopping all over the place. It was like really wilted when I first put it in the sunlight, because I don't think that they were using sunlight in the store. Not sure they were. I don't know what they do in grocery stores when they sell you these plants, if they're using a grow light or actual sun. But when I put it in the sun, it was really wilted over. Probably shocked. And I didn't know if it was going to make it. but the leaves started to turn more green. Okay, here we go. All right. Here we go. So we're done there. Now I'm not going to push it down. You're going to water it and let it go down naturally. So this is what it's looking like so far. And obviously this needs to be harvested. So I can just feel this plant is so much happier. All right, so is cut off whatever is not healthy looking, pretty much. So just going to take your time and go through, because what happens is the plant is going, if there's a sick leaf, the plant is going to divert its energy that could be used to growing new leaves to the sick one, trying to heal the sick one. So you just want to get rid of those all together. And you want to just make a habit of pruning the plant and getting rid of whatever doesn't look healthy. So, like I said, you'll see, just watch the plant, you'll see some of the leaves not going to make it. But that's okay, because you'll get new life. And every one you trim, that's more energy that's going to go downwards towards the root and focus on growing new leaves. So, and this is how you trim parsley. You don't just cut off the top, you just get it all the way down the stalk. And a new one just is going to sprout up elsewhere. That's how you trim the parsley. Some like things like oregano, you kind of just trim off from the top of the plant, and then it keeps growing upwards, and that's the ones that are up at the top, they're older, and you trim basil like that too. But parsley, you trim it all the way down at the end of the stem. That's it. Once you cut it, that's done. It's not growing again from the same stem. Okay. Also, you want to make sure you get some of it off the top, because if you have too many leaves, too many large leaves at the top, the little leaves that come underneath aren't going to get any sun. Fortunately, what I'm cutting right now is mostly little leaves, but they were like that from the grocery store. They just were not making it because I guess they just didn't have enough sunlight. Okay, so I just want to like stand up, please, but hopefully it'll get stronger to where it stands up on its own. We'll see. Clean this with some hot soap and water, and the instructions, they're not super clear. It says to use a tablespoon per gallon of water for house plants and feed every week, and then 1/8 of a cup per gallon of water for outside plants, and then says feed vegetables and flowers every 1 to 2 weeks. So that's under outside plants. So I mean, what we're doing today is not really a vegetable. We're doing parsley, we're doing rosemary, and we're doing wheatgrass, but I don't know if that's under the category of house plants. Technically, it's plants inside of my house. So what I'm doing is following the guidelines for outside plants, okay? I've done this in the past, perfectly fine. I'm not going to use a full gallon of water today, so I put in half a gallon. I put in 8 cups of water in here, and then so it's 1/8 for the vegetables to a gallon of water. So then I have the fertilizer and half as well. So in here I have a tablespoon of fertilizer to 8 cups of water versus 1/8 cup of fertilizer to a gallon of water, because as you know, 1/8 cup, 2 tablespoons equals a full 1/8 cup. So that's what I have here. And you know, I don't want to be wasteful, so I have the recipe, and that's what I'll be using. All right, so now what you're going to do, like I said, you don't want to push down the soil. You want to just put it in lightly. And now we're going to just let the water do the work, okay? So we're gonna water it and let the water do the work of now you want to water this plant thoroughly when you repot it. You want to make sure it's wet all over, and basically just water it until it drips at the bottom, and that's how you know it's thoroughly watered. You already have that it's already dripping, but I'm gonna just do a little more for good measure. Okay. Now, when you watering your plant, like if you see your plant is wilting in the hot sun, don't water it in the sun, because it actually shocks the plant to do that. What actually will happen is the plant is kind of, I forget exactly what the science is, but it's a protection mechanism. And if you give it the water while it's that hot, in essence, it's kind of like, if I'm remembering it correctly, like boiling the plant. Okay? So what you want to do is actually let it wilt. And what you'll notice is the plant will spring back up to life after the sun has passed over. It's usually like overnight. It'll just, if it was wilted out, it'll just come back up. Okay? Okay, so here I have my rosemary. Okay, so I am basically going to do the same process, but I'll talk a little bit about rosemary. So rosemary is a little different in where it doesn't need to be watered as regularly. It actually comes from more arid, dry atmosphere. So watering it regularly will kill it. I mean, watering it often will kill it. And I speak from experience. Hopefully I have better success with my rosemary this time around. I've had a rosemary plant, I want to say about, I think maybe twice, and I think I've killed it twice. Once I grew it from, I don't even know if I've ever grown it from the beginning, from a seedling, but I've killed it twice. So third time's a charm. The way you want to test a plant is to put your finger in, I mean preferably 2 inches or an inch. And if you feel wetness, then it's too soon to water. You want that soil dry before you water it again. Okay? If you notice you have a problem with your plant leaning to one side, kind of how the parsley was, what you want to do is rotate the plant. So if my plant's leaning to the right because it's stretching out towards the sun, I'll rotate it the other way and allow the leaves to lean towards back the other way. So if this is leaning this way, because this way is where all the sun's coming, I'll rotate it the opposite way and allow the plant to pull itself back. And that's how you can help straighten out the plant. And I'm sharing that because I noticed that parsley was definitely leaning. So I'll be rotating that and see how it goes. So however much soil I've just put in here, that's how much room I'm giving for the roots to grow down, which is about this much. So that's how much taller, larger the plant can get and just kind of spread out. And when I feel like, let's say this plant, I feel like it's outgrown this, then I'll get a larger pot. Or you can leave it in the one that it's in. I mean, but ideally, if you want your plant to get bigger and harvest a lot from it, then to get a larger pot. I have up to 5-gallon containers over there because, like I said, I've grown vegetables. And ultimately, I like to keep these rosemary as long as possible. At some point, it's going to go to seed, I believe. I don't think I've ever kept a rosemary that long to be able to tell you much about that, but that's when you just collect the seeds and replant. And obviously you can store your seeds for the future, you know, once that does happen. It's just, and I want to harvest a lot of this rosemary, and I want to make tinctures with it. And obviously I use it in my spiritual practice as well, and cook with it. So I would like a lot of rosemary. This is the Epsom salt. It's the same routine. Epsom salt, it's safe, I think, across the board pretty much for the plants. Okay, this is the second time I did that. As you can see, this one's already crumbling itself. I didn't even have to do nothing, so I'm just gonna leave it just like that. It just crumbled itself. So I'm gonna have to put another layer of Epsom salt because it crumbled over the layer that I already had. And like I said, you want the salt in direct contact with the roots. So okay, and we're just going to very gently settle it in there. Okay, and I'm not putting 2 in 1 because I don't want the roots to choke each other. You want to give it its space. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I just love plants. Okay, we need to water this. Like I said, with the rosemary, you want, I love the green against the red. I really do love this. With the rosemary, you want a soil that drains really well. Okay, you want warm water. Cold water actually shocks the root. It should be room temperature. So we're gonna do 6 cups, no 8 cups, so 16 cups is a gallon. So 8 cups. Okay, so I actually decided to talk to you guys while I do this other one. Since we're talking about survival, some other things, like if you don't have access to a fish seaweed fertilizer, I mean, I'm sure you can make your own. But if you don't have access to that, if you don't have access to the Epsom salt, like what are the things people can do? Compost is very essential, very important, because it's going to create that nutrient, nitrogen dense soil that you need to grow your plants, because your plants, your vegetables, they feed you, but you have to feed them in order for them to grow well. So compost, basically, and there's so much you can use. Obviously food scraps you can use for compost. People use paper, people use their hair. You can make, like, you can use certain things to make nutrient rich water for plants. Like you can take a banana peel, obviously you want an organic one, but use what you have. Soak it in water for a day and then water your plants with it, and that'll feed the plant. Tea leaves, the inside of tea leaves can be sprinkled along at the top of the plant to help feed the plant, things like that. So you want to look into that, because there could come a time when you can't just go on Amazon and order a fish fertilizer, or go into the store. The stores might be empty, you know. Think Walking Dead. It might be empty. People might have already picked them. We saw an example of that with this whole COVID thing. There was a toilet paper shortage. So you want to find ways to get around that. Just study, learn the plants. Okay guys, so this is the Window. I'm sorry for the poor resolution, but like I said, this one is on my computer for now. But you guys can see I have the 4 pots here in the windowsill. This is them after they've been repotted, and your southern windowsill is going to get the most light. All right, that's here in the northern hemisphere anyway. And this is some scallions that I'm regrowing, and I will be repotting these as well. These are organic scallions that I got from the grocery store. So I'm regrowing those. I just put them in some water. So I'll be having scallions. Obviously, I'm out of space, so I'll have to utilize the other windowsill. I won't put too much, but I'll put scallions, and I'll put some wheatgrass, which I'm going to do now. I'm going to do the wheatgrass in a separate video because I don't want this one to get too long. So yeah, guys, I hope this was useful, enjoyable. And until next time, guys, see you guys later. Let's be.